Hey fam bam, hey leaders, welcome back. So today's video is a unique topic and it's something, as you read by the title, that I have not been sharing with you for the last couple years. And it's something that I haven't shared because I don't think I was ready to face it. I hadn't really processed it and I didn't see how it was relevant or how I could bring it around to add value here. But now that I'm in the place that I'm at and the whole picture, the whole process and experience has formulated to a place where I'm at peace and I have understanding of what just happened, I'm ready to share it and just explain to you because I see where the value is in this entire experience. So the last time that I kind of sort of brushed on this topic and brought it up was in October 2016. I put out a video that a lot of you guys watched and it talked about the price of money. And in that video, I talked about the cost that it had costed me. I've spent the last 10 years getting really, really good at making money, but what suffers? My relationships suffer. How I realized it wasn't worth it, that it was all this big fake game. There's no reason that we need another pair of pants in a different color with holes in them for another $150. All these things to manufacture a perfect world that doesn't really exist. And more importantly, because of that situation that I was in, the alignment or misalignment that it created caused me a lot of unhappiness and somewhat regret. This is easy, we know this, it makes sense, but still we are so tied to the idea that maybe, quite possibly maybe, going down this direction will actually work. I mean, because everybody seems so happy doing it. Everybody looks so happy doing it. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll stick the link down below and you can check that out and see what state I was in. It was just something that I was thinking about and I turned the camera on and sort of talked unscripted to you guys as I'm going to try to do today and hopefully keep all of my thoughts in one straight line. So it was interesting, this video, when I filmed it, it was almost like a foreshadowing. It's like so creepy that this happened because I had no idea what was about to occur literally 2 weeks, 2 months, and then 2 years later. So it is so crazy looking back and seeing the date of this video and realizing that I had filmed it right before everything that I'm about to share with you. So 2 weeks later, after that video, I got a call from 2 of my bigger clients saying that they were going to end work with us early. Early meaning instead of at the end of the year, they're gonna cut it off 2 months short. Well, because those clients were my 2 biggest clients, it cut my income down by a lot. And I mean a lot. At that time, I was making a decent amount and I get so sketched out sharing numbers, honestly, because I know some people want to judge and money has this taboo, but for the sake of just giving you perspective, I am going to share numbers because I just want to be completely transparent. And just a caveat to that, I talk a lot about being a business owner and how these numbers are gross numbers. So coming down, trickling through the corporation, trickling down to like what I get paid. This is not like what I make, it is what our company makes. So our company lost $15,000 a month cutting these 2 clients. And because our company, run by me, 100% my fault, I did not keep a back end. I did not save for a rainy day, especially not a rainy day this big. I ended up having to pay those 2 months out of my own pocket to keep our company running. So by the end of the year 2016, my big secret is that I went $30,000 in debt. But it gets better, so hold the phone. Because of the way that I felt in October, this was just so devastating for me. And if you've followed me for a long time, you know that I am so against debt. I've worked so hard my whole life coming out of debt. And it was like, I don't even know how to explain it because at that time I wasn't really accepting that this is what life created for me or like what happened. It was just one of those things where I'm like, gosh, I've been feeling this feeling that this wasn't worth it, and boom, this gets pulled out from under the rug and just like proves my point right. And I was just so devastated. And so I paid it out of my own pocket. It was fine. And then I didn't think about this, but the 2016 tax bill came around. And I don't know why I didn't I wasn't tracking our growth. I didn't think we grew that much. I think mainly because I had hired employees, so I was paying out all this money and I wasn't making more money myself. So I didn't realize our company had grown how it did. So by the tax bill, I now found myself $50,000 in debt. And this was not, like, I've never been in this much debt ever in my entire life. Like, the most I'd been was $15,000 before we started our family. It was the last time that I was like, I'm never, ever gonna do this again. I did the Dave Ramsey system, we did the cash system, we came all out of it. And so this was such a huge blow, and I realized I didn't even know at that time that I was actually depressed, because on the outside I looked normal and everything was fine, but on the inside I was severely questioning whether or not I really wanted to be a business person, whether or not entrepreneurship was me, whether or not I had made a mistake. I was unmotivated, I was uninspired, I didn't care about money at that point. I felt all the exact sentiments that I had said in that last video, except 1,000 times deeper to my core, my bone. And I just could not figure out what this was all about. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? Now, on this note, I want to say I understand there's going to be so many different sides and perspectives to this coin. I have so many investor friends and business friends who have been in this for like a long time, and they say, Marin, MJ, you know what? It's fine. I've been in so much more. Like, this is business. This is what happens. You learn, you're new. Other people say, well, you think that's a lot of debt? Well, I got my PhD and I'm $200,000 in debt. That's not a lot of debt. And there are some people who say this is terrible because you shouldn't be in debt, or what's wrong with debt, it's a normal thing. So I just want to say that I'm not saying this is right or wrong, or I'm not condemning or judging anybody for wherever you guys are at. This is simply how I view myself and the standard that I hold myself to. So based on my own experience and my own history, this was super, super shocking for me. So it just ended up being perfect that we had decided to move, and we decided to move here to Florida from Hawaii because our family was so far away and they were kind of getting tired of coming all the way out to Hawaii. It's a long flight from the East Coast to Hawaii, and for us it's quite expensive as a family to come off and go to mainland and then come back. And so we decided, you know, let's be closer to family, and then anytime we want to go back to Hawaii, we can. So it actually worked perfect because Florida is much more inexpensive compared to Hawaii, and there's no state tax. And so the first year we were here, I set up our corporation like legitimately the way that it should be, because the reason that I paid so many taxes was our company grew and I paid all of that as a sole proprietor. So if you haven't seen videos that I talk about in entrepreneurship, or you don't understand the difference, basically if you're not set up as a corporation and you end up being a sole prop, you pay a lot more taxes. So that was mistake number one, just simply not knowing and just venturing through this whole thing myself, which is a part of the reason I came out with that small series of videos on entrepreneurship, and just trying to be like very clear about if you're taking that path, it's not made for everybody, and there are things that you want to make sure you have in check. So I'll go ahead and stick that series below if you haven't seen it, and entrepreneurship and business is something you're new to or have just started or looking into. So I came and established a corporation, which was more money out of pocket. Keep in mind, I'd been running this business and my lifestyle as if the gross income were my net income. So establishing a corporation has a lot stricter parameters. You have to be more strict about the documentation, how balanced everything is, the way it's put on paper. There's a lot more moving pieces like payroll and bookkeeping, etc., that happen for a corporation. And so it was very, very stressful. Not only that, moving put us even more in debt. So now we've got a pay cut, now we've got more debt, and I was also dealing with the chronic fatigue. And at that time, 2017, you guys know, is when I turned from vegan to non-vegan. It was a big year for me because I was putting my flag in the ground and saying that no matter what, I'm going to take care of my health and I'm going to find a solution to whatever it is I'm facing. I had just been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue the year prior and was trying to do it myself. And so once we landed here, I got a bunch of different doctors, both from Eastern and Western medicine, to just really figure this thing out. And so I spent 2017 working my butt off trying to get my health off the ground, which, as you know, if you followed this journey, was a huge success. But at the end of that year, I wasn't focusing on my business. I was simply trying to maintain where I was at. I still, looking back, realized that I was not willing to fully accept and face the situation that I was in. I think I was just kind of hoping that I just keep doing what I'm doing, set up the corporation, and then like it'll slowly pay down and go away. But we were paying out money to doctors, we were paying out money to help and hires, we were paying out money to setting up corporation and lawyers and accountants, etc. And so there were also a lot of little incidences that happened between then and now as well. We've had 3 hospital visits within the family. We've had so many accidents. I've launched MJ as a brand and have been trying really hard to pour myself into this, but without getting sidetracked, more on that. The year after 2018, I healed my health, found balance, regained a new perspective and inspiration, and I thought, I don't want to do the same thing I did before. I don't want to make that same mistake chasing money and being really good at it, but still putting my problem off. I instead started pouring into educating myself and growing myself for my own brand. A lot of what you see here, launching my courses, putting together these resources for you, a lot of it's been free, and really it's not making any money. I'm still spending a lot of money to keep all of this maintained because it is my passion and my purpose. And so that brings me all the way down to today. What's changed? What's going on? The bill is now over $80,000 over my head. And why 3 years later, it's actually like 2.5, so October 2016 to now, why now is this all coming to fruition? So you would think that I would feel similarly to 2.5 years ago, but even more so. What started off as 30, 50,000 is now 80,000. And this sounds like I'm just digging a grave, but don't worry, the plug has been implemented and it's stopped. We've put a stop to it. But I really don't regret any of it. And there was a day where recently, just a couple months ago, I realized that my perspective had been so wrong. My perspective was I had failed. My perspective was I made a mistake, I did the wrong thing, and now I'm paying a huge, huge price for it. And it took 2.5 years to go through sort of the whiplash and to face this day in, day out, trying to cope, trying to find different methods, trying to figure myself out, both physically and mentally, to figure out like what the hell is going on and what happened. Well, here's what I realized. I fixed my health. I fixed my adrenal fatigue, and I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't been pressed up against a wall, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to dig ourselves out of this hole if I was as stressed as I was. And one thing I left out, and I don't even know why I left it out because it was a huge part, was at this time, right before this debt showed up, or right around this time this debt showed up with the clients falling off early, my husband said, "You're working too much. You're working too much. We miss you. I miss you. The kids miss you. And we have all this nice stuff. We have a great lifestyle, but I'm not happy." And this was really the instigation to that first video. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, we can't be happy if we're not actually living life together. Now it's not just like, okay, well, let's just start over and figure this out. Now it's like, I'm in the biggest hole I've ever been in my life. What do I do? The first step was, I told my husband, I said, I cannot make this money thing a priority if we don't want to go back to the unhealthy, imbalanced state that we were in of not being completely happy and completely contented and having the time that we need together to have a healthy family psychology and relationship psychology. So the first thing that I need to prioritize is my health. So this is the number one reason I don't regret it, because we actually found a solution and it actually worked. And I had no idea at that time that's what would happen. I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't know what the result would be. I just knew that I was dedicated to do anything and everything it took to fix my health. health. So that's number one, the biggest reason I'm so grateful this all happened this way. Number two, because I couldn't just walk away, the situation was not only the same, it grew, but now on top of it, I had three problems to solve. The debt thing, my health, and to make sure that we have a balanced family psychology, to make sure my family and my relationships in my family are healthy and happy, and I'm being a good present mom and parent. Those three things forced me, and I'll say forced me to either step up or break down. When you are in the toughest situations in your life, and this is literally the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I've had a really crappy childhood, and the PTSD and all of that stuff was really hard, but this was even harder because something that seemed seemingly simple wasn't. Something that seemed like I could just walk away, run away, I couldn't, and I didn't want to, because I wasn't gonna bail on my family. I wasn't gonna file bankruptcy. I'm not just going to quit. It's just, and trust me, those thoughts came around. I was thinking to myself, is that who I am? Do I just do these things? And every time I kept coming back to, no, I'm a responsible person and I'm gonna do the best that I can here, but it didn't seem to be happening. So I was forced to figure out how to grow my energy, not only take my health, and fortunately, because it's so related to health, everything that I learned to heal adrenal fatigue was everything that contributed to growing more energy, to having more capacity, stress resilience, mental patience, physical endurance, just capacity as a total to not only run a business, start a brand, make sure that I changed the habits that I had and create space in my day for myself and for my family, start incorporating things like regular exercise, food, just expanding and growing at every level. And I knew this because consciously, before it all happened, I verbally spoke to my husband and said, I'm going to find my limitations, I'm going to find the edge of my boundaries, and I'm gonna push them. And I'm gonna push them just over the edge so that I'm forced to grow, figure something out, and then do it again. And what was so cool is because I was at the edge of my boundaries, all of this, like mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, everything was at the edge of the boundaries. All that pushing and showing up, pushing and stepping up, pushing and learning and adjusting and growing has now put me in a position where I'm like, okay, we can do this. We've established MJ as a brand. I'm happy where it's at. It's very easy to maintain now. I figured out this is my passion and my purpose, despite what business I'm in. I have a different perspective on my work. I still do the same job, but now I choose to be pickier. I choose to have a different approach, choose who I get to work with, and we're also venturing new avenues. And the goal is in the next year, this debt will be paid off. So rather than not looking at it and hoping that it will happen, we have made some major decisions in the last couple months. We have doubled our production. We've worked really hard to sustain this balance, and it is working. And so that is, I think, what has gotten me fired up more than anything is just the happiness that we have found this place, because how we function now to do what we're doing would not have been possible 2.5 years ago. It just wouldn't have. And that's why I simply can't regret it or feel bad about it. It sucks. The last 2.5 years, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I cried about this because I've faced it and thinking like, how could I let this happen? How could I do this to myself? How could I do this to us? But at the same time, all of this pressure and all of this problem created such a huge will and desire and motivation to find solutions. And I didn't realize that everything from my health to growing unlimited energy, it all interconnects. And it just makes me extra passionate to bring this information here and to you guys, because I think, gosh, I'm really a stubborn person. I'm really self-motivated. I really want to do things right. How many more people do I know that are just like me, out there giving the best that you can, doing everything you can, making the best choices you can, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're like, what the like, seriously, what just happened? How come I can't get this right? Why are things not improving? Why aren't things moving or growing? How did this happen? If that's you, my heart goes out to you and I feel you like so on a deep level because I realize how difficult this can be. And it doesn't have to be finances. It can be anything in the world that puts pressure on you, drags your time and energy, even though you tried to do things right. I realize it was my fault. I made a mistake. It is okay to make mistakes. This was a huge one that I felt like, from my experience, came out of left field. Now, anybody with business knowledge, now I would say, okay, duh. And I really try to help all my students or anybody I'm coaching in business understand that you really have to get this thing in check. But I really didn't have anybody telling me that. I didn't work with anybody telling me that. And because of my passion for this, I've created a small group here locally where we can all help support each other and say, hey, watch out for this pitfall, or you're going through this struggle. I went through the same thing too. Like, to just sort of help encourage and grow one another. And really, that's where it's at. Now we are open to something different and more, and we have all this opportunity because of this foundation that we've laid down. I don't know if MJ as a brand will happen. I'm not going anywhere because this is my passion and purpose, but I'm not following it because of the money. I'm actually spending money to be here, and that's how important it is to me. Is despite my disposition, I've done everything to prioritize my health, my family's health, and to keep this thing alive. Secondly, we just want to make sure that we're in complete alignment. That's the most important thing that I think I lost sight of when I first grew our company. And because it just made more sense on paper to follow the money, sure, it was growing, sure, it was great. And had I not been trying to like take more money and dump it into whatever I could into the business to like make it grow, because literally it was my goal to do like a certain amount within that year. And it was a lofty goal, which we still hadn't reached. Because of that perspective, I lost sight of what was important, not only in my life, but also in business as well. And it's so crazy to be there and realize like, this is not a way to live. This is not a way to be. It doesn't feel right. So we're open to wherever this journey takes us. It's amazing how life, the universe brings you exactly what you need. And I'm so thankful this happened. It sounds nuts because I never in my life thought I would say this. Like for 2.5 years, I've been saying, I hate that this happened and I wish it didn't happen, or I wish there was an out, but I'm so thankful because it cultivated me to be a person of high discipline, high capacity, unlimited energy, a better mom, a better business owner, a better partner, and still have the time and energy to pursue things that keep us all really healthy and keep me aligned with my own values and my own passions. So we have, who knows, local projects. I'm doing some teaching locally. There's a massive potential to evolve our brand to less consumerism based products or items, which will be, that's the biggest thing for me. If you guys didn't know, that my biggest beef with my job is that I take photos for a lot of products that promote more consumerism. Being a minimalist, it's not really fun having to pull in a bunch of stuff in my house. I have massive giveaway boxes all the time, and it just feels so wasteful with all the packaging and all that. But I'm not gonna get into that because it's a personal, that's just a personal thing. And I get that's kind of like a negative perspective. So you have to like balance out like looking at it from the dark light versus looking at it from a space of gratitude and abundance, because it is really amazing that we have the opportunity to run a business like we do and to produce the amount of work and the type of work that we get to. But at the same time, it would be really nice to start shifting it, and we're working as well as we possibly can to begin to shift this to things more like real estate and actually doing photo shoots for yogis. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see I've done some of that recently. So we're just sort of allowing it to evolve, and this is sort of a different approach than I've taken in the past. In the past, I usually just burn the bridge and start anew. And this is the first time I've literally had to eat my own poop. Like, fall on your face and eat This is what I've literally had to do the last 2.5 years, and I will still probably be doing that for the next year or so. And I'm okay with that because I'm proud of myself. I've built confidence and I'm learning and growing a lot from the process. So moving forward, we're literally zero compromise to my health, to my family, to my values. And literally out of this whole thing, this is the biggest lesson I take away from this, and the biggest value that I hope you get in hearing this story is that nothing, no person, no obligation, no amount of money, no amount of public praise or false identity is worth compromising any of those. It's not at all worth compromising what is important to you and what you value ever. So thank you so much for being here. I was telling myself I was not gonna cry this whole video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always supporting my journey and allowing me to be honest. And thanks for listening and understanding. It has been freaking crazy. But there's so much good coming out of it, because I hope that with everything that I've learned through this whole process, I'm able to teach you some things that might a little bit or a lot of it improve your life. And my only hope is that if I can help you level up your experience every single day, whether it's teaching you a little bit something of how to restore, get more energy, or avoiding a massive pitfall like this, then my purpose, my passion has been fulfilled. So thank you so much for being a part of with me here throughout all this craziness, and I will definitely keep you updated on this journey. Thank you guys. Love you, and I hope you have a great day.